and violence on Metrolink, and this kind of hits home for me. So Channel 2 reported on this morning.
We begin this morning with breaking news from North County. A man in his 20s was shot and killed on a Metrolink train last night in Normandy.
It happened near the UMSL station last night. And, of course, a couple weeks ago, there was a mugging and somebody was getting beaten with a gun. The gun went off, went through the window, and hit somebody standing outside on the platform and killed them. It's alarming. Why can't they fix it? That's a question I called a lot of police officers I know today that are retired and otherwise to try to get an answer to that question. And let's put it this way. It's like the relationship status of a lot of you on Facebook. It's complicated, right? It is. It's a complicated issue. There's no quick answer, and there's not the ability to just throw officers at it for some reason. I asked Jeff Roorda to join us. Jeff, of course, the business manager for the St. Louis Police Officers Union. And Jeff, how are you?
I'm great, Mark. Just to show you how politically incorrect I think that I am, I think Don Rickles is the funniest person that's ever lived on this planet.
Yeah,
and was never hurtful though. His comedy was sort of brought people together rather than put them asunder.
Yeah, he made people laugh at their weaknesses or their differences or whatever they were. So I certainly appreciated his brand of comedy. And even right up until the last couple of years, to stay off the subject for a minute, he did an interview with somebody on Comedy Central, and it was this young comedian. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. And Don Rickles just chewed him up and spit him out. I mean, it was funny to watch. He was as irascible as ever, and I always enjoyed him. On to something that's not as funny is security on Metrolink. Now, I've gone back and looked at this issue, and this debate's been going on for years, and it's a struggle over who provides security on Metrolink. Really, there's a struggle between the city police and the county police and Metro itself, which has its own group of officers, but nobody wants to cede any territory. Am I right?
Yeah, but you know what? I'll tell you that I think this falls at the feet of the folks at Metro. They have this sick fixation with having their own transit police, and it's just really not a good idea. Their problems aren't that they don't have a transit police department. It's that the folks that they've hired for security are unable to do the job, and that it has to be augmented by the St. Louis County and St. Louis City Police Department.
Well, but I mean, it's a conglomeration of people. You've got police agencies on the east side that provide officers over there, and of course, the city has its own officers for city limits, and the county has a group of officers assigned to do that. There's not really one individual who's in charge of all those groups, correct?
No, and they don't work together as closely as they should. For instance, the county police have refused to get on the same radio frequency that the Metro security and the city police are on the trains, and that's a problem that ought to be addressed.
Well, it's also a manpower issue. Somebody put it to me this way, that if there are 25 trains running at any given time, and correctly staffing it would mean having a couple of officers probably on each train, you're looking at a large force of people who would need to be working several different shifts a day to cover all of those routes. I don't know if it's even feasible or affordable.
Well, and here the bigger problem is that the Metrolink is just lawlessness on steel wheels. I mean, they invite criminals onto the train by not enforcing the fare. 75%, and I've heard this straight from people that work on those platforms, 75% of the people that get on that train don't pay. So you've got people who are already have a propensity for ignoring the law that are making up the majority of the folks on that train. They need to put turnstiles in. They need to enforce gate jumpers, and they need to demonstrate that there's a low tolerance for crime on those trains instead of just making it sort of welfare on wheels and a giveaway of transportation to not the people who are poor or needy, but the people who just don't feel like abiding by the same rules.
Because I'm assuming that it makes somebody feel good that even though they're kind of sort of a wink and a nod. I mean, you're supposed to buy a ticket, but it's pretty rare that anybody's ever going to come on board a train and actually ask to see your ticket.
I think you could sell those things on eBay as collector's items.
I appreciate that humor. I don't know what the answer is, and then I look at and I
don't
know
charge everybody and then fund the proper level of security. If they were collecting 3 times what they're collecting now, because 75% of the folks are gate jumpers, they could fully fund the security operation by having a lot more city and county cops riding those trains, standing on the platforms, making sure that the laws are enforced and that crime is dissuaded.
And you call them gate jumpers, but the truth is there aren't any gates. I mean, if you had a situation more like they have in New York, where I was in the past 6 months, or Chicago, you can't. You do literally have to jump a gate, and there's usually an officer standing there watching.
Right. Well, it's an invisible gate. It's kind of like the walls on Les Nessman's office. Gotta go through.
That's true. It's a good point. Jeff Roorda, I appreciate your point of view on this, because I'm just trying to get to help the listeners understand why fixing this problem has been such a problem for so long. Because every couple of years, there's a rash of crime, and everybody says, why don't we fix this? And here we are a couple of years later, and we've had 2 murders in the past,
it's
3 weeks?
But it's an easy solution, but it will take some political will. And we lack that in this region.
Very true. Jeff Roorda, thanks so much for your time.
You bet, Mark.
Yep. You have a great day. Appreciate you coming on. I'll be honest with you. I've talked to no fewer than 4 or 5 people this morning and had a couple of phone calls not returned, trying to get them on this show, people who were involved in the process and some who used to be involved in the process, and nobody wanted to come on because it's such a politically sensitive issue. Now, to his credit, Chris Hayes over at Fox 2 News did an investigative report on this back in 2014. I believe it was 2014, because there had just been a robbing or a stabbing on Metrolink, and there was security video of somebody laughing while it was going on. The other people were sitting on the train laughing, watching this person get attacked. And the question was asked then. So Chris Hayes filed some sunshine requests and got a hold of a couple of documents that kind of gives you a glimpse into the problems that are taking place between our officials to fix the problem. The county doesn't apparently want Metrolink to have its own separate security force. Listen. Whoops. Here we go.
Behind the scenes, 2 agencies are battling over your protection. Fox 2, through a sunshine request, obtained these 2 letters. The first, a scathing joint letter from the St. Louis City and County Police Chiefs. It tells Metro your employees are not police officers, and it says the use of patrol canines by Metro will cease immediately. It details a citizen was bitten twice by your canine after he was sprayed with pepper spray by security officers. Chief Belmar and Dotson ordered the red and blue lights must be removed from your vehicles, and they criticized Metro for improper searches. Metro's police chief fired back with this letter. He says his employees will continue to use dogs to deter crime and potential terrorist activity. He argued his officers are authorized to do search and seizure.
So there is basically a charter issue here, dating back to Harry Truman, I think, that hasn't allowed Metro to effectively create its own police force. Sort of like the Port Authority that they have in New York City. They're police officers whose sole assignment is to deal with things around the port. If you watch the 9/11 movie or any of that stuff, you see a lot of Port Authority officers. Those are people who have a specific job. We don't have that in St. Louis. But I am told that the folks at Metro are looking at they're working on a way to enhance the security they can offer. So in other words, to add people and resources. And their Metro security officers are licensed officers. They carry guns and all that. They also hire some outside security to help with this. To me, it's unfathomable that there's not a police officer on every single train. it's hard to imagine a system that already is far from paying for itself, not enforcing the fare structure. Why do we do that? Why would you let somebody, 75% of the people, if Jeff Roorda's figures are right, ride a train and not pay for it? That's because the taxpayers are paying for it, and the powers that be want to look the other way, I'm guessing. I don't understand that. I mean, we understand that public transit is subsidized. It almost has to be. It's almost never going to pay for itself. When somebody can get on board an express bus from downtown to Chesterfield and there's only one or two people on it, you know their $2 or $3 for that ride didn't even cover the gas, let alone the hourly rate of the driver or the maintenance on the vehicle. We subsidize this stuff all the time. But intentionally letting people ride that system for free and with no security on it is just what Jeff Roorda referred to. It's a problem waiting to happen. The thugs just use the train to get from point A to point B to commit more crime. Something's got to happen.